Hello, Gems. Welcome to another episode of Tiaras and Tech. I'm your host, Shelley Benhoff, and today I'm talking to Sara Springmeyer, and she is the COO at Covey. We talked about how Covey helps to diversify investments, the importance of women in the financial industry, and how she got $2.5 million in funding for her company. Without further ado, on to the episode. Hey, Sara, welcome to the show. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you so much for having me. I think your mission is amazing. I'm all for getting women and underrepresented communities into the area of tech.
Yeah, absolutely. That is what we're all about here. Yeah, so let's just jump right in and have you tell us how you got started in tech.
It's a great question. I actually started my career at a hedge fund in New York, which I never in a million years would have thought I'd wind up in finance or eventually tech. I actually came from a family filled of teachers and, as you mentioned, studied art. But I was introduced to the hedge fund world through a recruiter early in my career and started working at Co2, which is one of the largest tech funds, which is actually where I met Brooker, Covey's founder. We started working together back in 2012. He was an investment analyst, and I had always worked on the people side of the business and wound up in investment professional recruiting. So I'd become kind of quickly disenchanted by the way of the industry. Recruiters are really required to stick within very narrow parameters when evaluating candidates. You pretty much had to go to an Ivy League or an equivalent and work at one of the top tier investment banks. And I knew I wanted to change this to somehow make the world of investing more accessible. I ended up going into kind of my own recruiting gig. I worked for a company called Assembled Brands, which is a fintech company based in LA. And that was my first real foray into tech. They are changing the way emerging brands can secure funding from kind of the way of the old boys club of venture to a technology-driven evaluation of a good company deserving of funding. So when Brooker reached out to me about Covey, it really was a no-brainer. Their mission was to make investing accessible for more, regardless of background, and that really struck home.
I love that. Yeah, absolutely. So speaking of Covey, what is it? And what problems is it solving?
Yeah. So Covey is a community of analysts built to find the best money managers. It is a blockchain-enabled platform that allows anyone, regardless of background, to create a virtual portfolio. And Brooker really came up with this idea when he went out to start his own hedge fund and quickly realized the enormous amount of capital required to do so and felt strongly that anyone with good ideas deserves to get paid for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. You know, it's really funny. I've had several people on who have products or platforms. I always end up signing up for them. So I can tell you right now, I'm super into, investing and all of that stuff. So this is right up my alley. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you'll love our copy trading app, which hopefully we'll touch on later.
Nice. Yeah, absolutely. It's on the list. Yeah. So why is it important to allow access to marginalized groups or people who don't have that much capital to invest?
Yeah, it's a great question. And there have actually been a handful of studies on this, and it's proven that a more diversified investment team leads to better performance. Comes down to a lot of things, but the major one is really diversity in thought. So if you have a table filled with similar people coming from similar backgrounds, they'll come up with similar ideas. You're likely missing out on a whole slew of other opportunities. And I actually recently wrote a master's dissertation on this topic. And alongside that, we were also able to prove that increased diversity not only has a positive impact on company performance, but it also has a positive impact internally in terms of job satisfaction and innovation, as well as less turnover. So finance and investing specifically, and the tech world really need to move away from being a white male-dominated industry think we all know that is not a required spec to be a good investor anymore.
Totally. Everything that you just touched on, it sounded right out of my most popular YouTube video where I talk about how innovation doesn't happen when everybody agrees all the time.
Exactly.
You have to have a team of people with multiple experiences who are all different and who can create products that really are for everyone or that have a specific angle. So yeah, I am so with you on that.
Different experience brings different ideas. I think it comes down to, it could be literally where you're from, your background, where you went to school. I mean, what industry you're from. It just requires diversity to come up with diverse ideas. As simple
exactly. Exactly. And this idea of classism isn't talked about enough, I think, because right now you have people in tech who had a, poor childhood and now have money and are like, what do I do with this? Yeah. And it's important to provide these resources and to let people know that these things exist, I think.
Completely. I mean, getting our story out is like the most important thing because it really is relatable. It sounds intimidating given that, the word fintech is involved and crypto is involved, but actually some of our more successful users are university students, truck drivers, software engineers. I mean, it runs the whole gamut, which is what makes it such a unique platform.
I love that. Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of security and blockchain, I'm one of those people that I get the concept. I've never really studied it or anything. But how do you keep all of the users' data secure?
Yeah, that's a really good question and really, really important. So anyone can join Covey for free. All you have to do is add equity, ETF, or crypto investing ideas. And when you submit those ideas, we post them to the blockchain for you, which allows all of our analysts to create an immutable track record that you can share with anyone. So the cool part is you can do it from your own wallet, so like MetaMask, and actually own the track record you created. And you can then use that track record to earn rewards on Covey or get a job kind of as a supplement to your resume, launch a fund. It really gives you that credibility as an investor. But like I said, it's all on the blockchain, which makes it public for anyone to see. That way anyone can check and see how amazing you are relative to everyone else. But it most importantly gives that element of transparency that we really don't see in the industry right now. If you are giving your money to someone, you want to know where it's going. And it's crazy to think that doesn't exist. And so we're hoping to make that the new normal.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially with investing. You want to know where your money's going because there are so many scams out there. Luckily I have not been hurt by any, but I certainly see them all the time. It's just, I don't know why people scam other people. And I hope I never understand fully, but it's so important when you are investing a lot and you have tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands, if you aren't me.
We can all strive for that.
Yeah, totally. I'm always really afraid of security issues. And I think that having a platform where you sort of act as an investor, can you tell me, just explain, because I I didn't do my homework fully, I guess, on this, or I don't remember. So this platform is for people to create hedge funds and earn off of them as well?
Yeah, so it's a good question. So what it is right now is we're building a community of analysts. So let me take a step back. The best way to kind of start is by defining analyst versus investor, because at Covey, it can get a little bit confusing. So an analyst is someone who's on Covey creating a virtual portfolio, competing to be one of the best. And an investor is someone who can come in and invest their money alongside that analyst. And so what we're doing right now is building that pool of analysts. And we will soon, next year, 2023, be launching a copy trading app. And I'm personally really excited for this. It sounds like it's probably right up your alley too. But it's a platform for investors, people like you and me who perhaps have money to invest, but we don't know where to put it. For those retail investors to invest alongside the best analysts on Covey. So like we were mentioning, there's really not a lot of options to put your money somewhere safely these days. Currently, the retail investment space is set up to put your money with big banks, JP Morgan, Wells Fargo, and people have really lost a lot of trust in them. So the next option is to put your money in a mutual fund where performance is mediocre at best. And then you have the introduction of apps like Robinhood, where people have started taking investing into their own hands. But data shows that the majority of people don't do this successfully. Actually, if you look at Robinhood's earnings in Q2, so April, May, and June, the average investor on Robinhood lost 36%, while the market lost 16%. It takes a lot of time and research to make successful investments. So enter Covey's copy trading app, where retailers can pick and choose where they put their money based on a proven track record of successful analysts on Covey. So like we were saying before, they can transparently see where their money is going. So what the analysts or money managers are invested in, and they can view that track record back to inception thanks to the blockchain.
Oh, yeah. I have to admit, Robinhood, I am on there. I think the problem with that is that you have to be pretty active, and check in on stuff, which most people like me are not. We're like, put some money in Tesla and Apple, and that's it. Yeah. Exactly. So I've actually lost money at this point.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why Covey is a great platform kind of around the board. So it's good for people who want to be that active analyst, who want to learn how to invest and be a great investor. But those who don't want to, but want to leverage their good ideas, can just put their money alongside them. So it's really a win-win once everyone gets on board.
Yeah, absolutely.
Something to point out too is that our analysts have been consistently beating the market, which I would say in these days is pretty impressive. So I know I'm super excited to get my money with them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think right after this, I'll be signing up and taking all my money out of Robinhood, putting it with people that actually work on stuff. Yeah. It was fun at first, Robinhood, but
it's an interesting way to kind of dip your toes, but there's a massive amount of risk where, Covey doesn't have that, which is great.
Yeah. It was like, at first it went up and up and up, and I was like, yay, I'm good at investing. And then it just, started slowly going down, and I was like, maybe not so much.
Yeah, it is true.
I need some help. Yeah. Yeah. So the copy trading app, we kind of touched on that, but kind of expand on, how it's actually used and who it's serving, I guess.
Yep. So we've not released it yet. We're releasing it in 2023, but it will basically be a platform where, so the top percentage of our analysts their portfolios will be highlighted on the copy trading app. And so as a user, say you join as a copy trading app user, so an investor, you can go on and see the top analysts. You can open up their profiles, see exactly what they're invested in. You'll be able to choose, of those names, are there any you don't want to be invested in? For example, do they have some oil and gas names in their portfolio and you don't want to participate in that? You can toggle that out. So it's a really good kind of easy, hopefully, platform to invest your money and have a really good handle on where your money is being invested.
I love that. Yeah, absolutely. It's about trust, really.
Mm-hmm.
Again, like investments, they're not easy, especially when I've always said in school, in like high school and stuff like that, they should have a class on adulting, on like paying taxes and investing your money. But of course, in school, kids that age don't care.
I know. It is really interesting. Like there are so many things that I learned in school and absolutely don't remember, but
oh my God,
like this
totally.
really helpful.
Yeah. And taxes, I mean, like, come on. I still don't know because I hire someone.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like I've literally never done my own taxes. I don't even know how
God, it makes me sweat to open the paperwork. I'm like, what does this even say?
Totally. Yeah. And it's so complicated, It's the whole financial world is really made so that you need help. You really do. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's fine. Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's scarier because your money's involved, right? Like, especially as you're starting up, whether you're, fresh out of school, just starting in your career, every dollar is precious and you don't want to mess up and lose any of it. So to kind of dip your toe in the water of investing is like, no way, that's not something I'm willing to risk at this point. So it's understandable that it's such a kind of closed off world and monopolized by the big banks, because you'd think in theory you see a brand name bank on your investments. Oh, perfect. My money's safe. But like, actually, is it?
No, it's not.
Because you give your money to them and you have absolutely no idea where they're putting it. So it's kind of a wish and hope type of thing.
It really is. Yeah. I don't have a huge amount of trust for large banks, but unfortunately it's kind of the only option that we have. Yeah.
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
Yeah. And I will say, especially like people who have businesses, there aren't a lot of options that are good for like checking and, all of that stuff. So the banks kind of have all of it. Yeah. Like you said.
Time to shake it up, right?
Time to shake it up. Yeah. Next up, I have a segment that I like to call Precious Gems. I'm going to share my screen. This is where I take a comment from a person on Instagram, Twitch, Twitter, LinkedIn, Pinterest now. If anybody wants to look us up on Pinterest, we're there as well. Cool. But this comment comes to us from Cyber Geek Me, I think is how you pronounce this. This was in response to yet another conversation that we had on the show about imposter syndrome. This is probably one of the most popular topics that we talk about. Hits everybody. But yeah, they said, this is such great advice, and it's always nice to get constructive criticism from someone that you look up to. It is definitely an eye-opener to hear what your strengths and weaknesses are. Yeah, that's why it's important to have mentors, plural, I would say. Yeah.
Yep. You're never going to grow if you don't get constructive feedback.
Exactly. If people agree with you all of the time, if people are always, coddling you and protecting your fragility overall, you can give someone constructive criticism without being an asshole about it,
Exactly. I mean, it goes back to like a non-diverse table, right? If everyone just is sitting around saying all the positive things, all the similar things, who's growing?
Exactly. Yeah. Cool. So let's talk about how do people get started, and especially women. Earlier, you were telling me that like the top, I forget, advisors are women. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great question. So it's really easy to get on Covey, and I think that's what is kind of our best feature. There's no real barrier to get going. So all you have to do is go to covey.io and create an account, and all you need to create an account is an email address. And once you're in, you can start building your virtual risk-free portfolio by adding company names, the size or percentage you want it to be, and click save, and boom, you're a Covey analyst. Again, it's completely free to use, which is what I mean when I say risk-free. It's free to use, and you don't have to put any actual money into your portfolio or the market. So the way right now to make money as an analyst before the release of our copy trading app is to participate in our monthly rewards, which are actually paid out in crypto because we have users from all over the world, which is very exciting. And to win rewards, you need to be an active analyst, which means you have to make at least one adjustment to your portfolio each month. So to be a top performer, we take into account more than just the performance of your portfolio. This is decided by our alpha algorithm, which was created with the help of our current analysts, and takes into account things like participation, portfolio performance, of course, and idea quality. So at Covey, which, side note, I don't know if you or our listeners know, but Covey is actually a definition for a community of birds. And we put a really huge emphasis on community. So from day one, we've really depended on the input of our community. And one really good example of that is this alpha algorithm.
Yeah, I love that. I had no idea that Covey was a term for, a group of birds.
I didn't either.
At least you didn't name it a murder of crows, That's
exactly.
Yeah.
So
Covey is much better.
But when people ask us what it means, it's the perfect definition because we really do rely on our community to make us who we are and help us grow. So yeah, it's a really cool group to be a part of.
That's awesome. Yeah. And then earlier you were talking about how women are so incredibly like great at this. Yeah. How and why do you think?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we have women on our platform. Obviously, we don't have nearly enough given the industry that we're in, but we want to be on podcasts like yours to hope to encourage more and more to join. The women we do have on board have been doing really well. Like you mentioned, the winner of last month's alpha algorithm was a woman, which is obviously very exciting. But we want to bring more on board, and we hope that Covey is actually the perfect place for anyone, whether it's a woman or anybody who's nervous about getting into investing, to really get their feet wet, get comfortable, join a community where you can ask questions and learn, and really just show them who's boss. The opportunities are endless.
Show them who's boss. I love that. Yeah, I think platforms, especially, just have such great opportunities, especially because right now I think a lot of people have realized life is short. Let's, go for our dreams. And a lot of people are entrepreneurs all of a sudden. And in order to be an entrepreneur, I can tell you that takes money. You have to save up and stuff like that. So investing is a great option, I think.
Yep. Yeah, and we have some people on Covey who do it as a side hustle. It's a really good way, maybe you're in an industry, you're in a role that requires you to actually come up with very good investing ideas, but then someone else is getting paid for them. You can go on to Covey and actually reap the benefits of your own ideas, or you have a, normal 9-to-5 job, but you want to earn a little money on the side. You can do this when you get home at night or on your lunch break. Given it's just a web-based platform, it's really easy to access.
Exactly. I can tell you all about the side hustle. I did my side hustle for 6 years, and then I finally took that leap. And it was the magic of passive income. I'm sitting here, I'm earning income off of my courses, especially, and that, enabled me to leave corporate life, because that is not for me. I don't have the personality for that. I don't like authority. That kind of makes it a non-starter,
Yeah, exactly. This is a good spot for people who want to be their own boss and run things their way, which is, it's important to know that about yourself. And I think it's really brave to leave the corporate world or whatever world you're in you don't want to be in. It's terrifying. So to take that leap and to feel comfortable doing it is really impressive.
Oh, I wouldn't say I felt comfortable.
That's true. I'm never feel comfortable, and that's maybe a good sign.
Yeah, because it's like you're leaving what you think is a stable income, but like I was laid off at least 7 times or so without severance a couple times, and it's like how like stable is that situation anyway? I could certainly create content online instead, and create my own stability, I guess. But
yeah, if it's in your own hands, it feels more stable in a way. Really
yeah.
If what about corporate world is it stable if at any moment you could be like, oh, it doesn't
exactly. And that's the problem. And that's why everyone should invest. Bring it back to the conversation. I always go off on tangents. It's a podcast. It's fine. Yeah. So let's talk about some tips for success. How can people achieve success?
Yeah, I would say the key to success on Covey is to be really active. So both in your portfolio, like I mentioned, every month you need to make an adjustment to it to stay within the competition, but also staying active in the community. So like I mentioned, we have an amazing Discord page where people ask questions, they discuss investing ideas, market happenings. They'll ask questions, can someone explain the alpha algorithm to me? Or that's where we go to our community to say, hey guys, we're thinking of putting out this new feature. What would you like to see? So it's just like this great kind of old school chat room, if you will, of our users, people learning how to invest, people learning how to use it, and for us to interact with them as well. So there's really no such thing as being too new. If you have to start somewhere, it might as well be this fun, safe, and collaborative space.
Yeah, absolutely. It is such a great idea to have an actual channel to have people collaborate. That is so popular right now. I am currently an admin on 3 different Discords.
Oh gosh, that's
Like,
busy.
every platform or technology should have a place for people to collaborate.
It's true.
think that is the number one thing to launch brands as well. You have to get people talking about it. So
Exactly.
yeah.
And there's studies, and we've kind of proven, and we're trying to prove actively through Covey, that investing is a zero-sum game. So, if everyone does well, everyone does better. So, if you're on this community, this Discord page, and you're sharing great ideas, nobody's going to perform negatively because of that.
Yeah.
So why not kind of have that space to share?
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just writing down that quote that you just said. If everyone does well, then everyone does better. Yeah, that's so true. A lot of people don't see things that way. And it's kind of like, well, if that person has more than me, that's not fair to me.
Exactly.
I mean,
And we're kind of raised to compete, which obviously there's an element of competition that is great.
sure.
But I think in the end, if we all work together, we're going to build something better, whether that's a product or wealth. I just think that the community aspect and teamwork should be working together rather than competing against.
Yeah, true. Competition, I guess, has its pros, but it has so many cons because it makes people feel small, I think. And then on the flip side, it makes people who win consistently have a little ego, swagger that's not appropriate,
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
we like we're trying to keep our analysts on their toes in that regard. So every month our competition resets. So you can't necessarily, if you make it to the top, you can't just sit there. That's why we require everyone to be active every month, because we want everyone to have a chance to compete fairly.
Yes, I love that. That is very inclusive. That really creates a level playing field.
Exactly.
That is what we need.
And it's things like that we discuss in our Discord channel. So, our users may say, well, hang on, that's confusing, because if I've created this portfolio and I'm in it for the long run, I don't want to day trade. We kind of remind them, oh, this is the reason why, and it makes more sense to them. So that it's, again, another opportunity to kind of just discuss ideas and make sure we're not missing anything as a company during the input, but also for our users to really understand why we do X, Y, and Z.
Exactly. It's such a great opportunity, like you said, as a company to learn to get direct feedback right from their users in real time every single day. Every company needs a community. There are so many different platforms. There's Slack, which isn't free anymore. So that one's kind of iffy. But Discord, I'm in so many Discords. I've almost hit the limit for a user. I think you can be in 100 and I'm in 80. Yeah, I'm not active in all of them. I just lurk, but still, yeah, they're popular.
You kind of tune in as much or as little as you want, which is the beauty.
Exactly. And it's a much better use of your time than Twitter or social media. It's
Yeah.
because you're talking to actual people. It's more personal, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I love that. Yeah. So let's talk about how you just got 2.5 million in seed financing. I can't even believe I'm talking to you. Like, why would you want to talk to me? But how did that happen? What was your approach? And friggin' congratulations. That is amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. We're super excited. A lot of hard work obviously went into it, but it's really exciting. We actually partnered with really amazing teams who specifically have experience in fintech and the crypto space. So we kind of narrowed our outreach by focusing on those spaces because we knew we would need the expertise and kind of the clout as well. So that's kind of step one. But with this funding, we've been able to build the team out a bit more and focus on exciting new efforts like the copy trading app. And we're actually launching our own token this month.
Ooh, that's
Yeah.
very cool. Yeah. I have a lot of respect for people who can present their products in a way that makes people give you $2.5 million. They're like, okay, but especially women, because it is so very rare. What was your experience like?
Yeah, I think, when Brooker and I paired up, it was almost the perfect combination. I do think there is an aspect of investing that want to see more female in their portfolio, which is obviously a great start. And the fact that we both have worked together for a long time also helped. We've known each other for ages. So in terms of teamwork, there's kind of some good chemistry there. And the fact that, I think we do have a bit of a diverse background. I mean, Brooker has obviously been in investing his entire career, but the fact that I have been in finance, but not necessarily in the investing space, more on the people side. And I've done everything from hedge fund to fintech to, went on to get my master's. And our developers have kind of a different background as well. We've got some that have been in this space before, some that haven't. So, I think the team itself and the idea really sold it for us, which is fortunate.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think right now people are very, concerned about money. Our economy, the world economy is not good. Inflation in so many different countries that right now, I believe that holding on to your money, investing, probably a good move for your future.
Yeah, it is true. And with like most things, patience really pays off. Brooker had been hitting the fundraising ground before I even was fully on board. So, it took a lot of time. It took a lot of effort. But, I think targeting the right people to help us was really important. And knowing that they really believed in us and our mission is super important.
Absolutely. Yeah. I believe in your mission. I wish that I had, a whole bunch of money that I could like invest in the actual company, but I will certainly use your platform. Yeah.
Yeah. The best way to invest in us is to use us.
That is true.
So,
yeah.
Right now we're building something. So we're still in the building phase. So getting on board and telling all your friends to join is the most we can ask for sure. And right now it's, you get on, you can build a risk-free portfolio just to kind of dip your toes, but also keep your eye out for the copy trading app because hopefully that is also speaks to a lot of people in terms of what to do with their money. And we don't have a minimum. You can put in, any amount of money that you want in, and you'll quickly kind of see how your money's working, which I think will be really fascinating for a lot of people.
That's awesome. Yeah. So a little bit of a selfish question, from a entrepreneur to an entrepreneur. How do you seek funding for your company? Like I'm thinking about expanding, but like I don't exactly know where to get the money from. So like I personally am looking for this advice, but I'm sure that a lot of my listeners are too. So I thought I'd ask.
Yeah, it's a great question. Definitely we call it mapping the market, but if you do a lot of research into, there's such specific funding out there that, only fund tech podcasts or only fund female entrepreneurs. If you can kind of map the industry and see what companies or investors speak most to you, those are the ones you obviously want to target first. But I would say the most important is to be persistent. It's going to be tiring and you're going to get a lot of no's inevitably, but don't give up. All it takes is a couple yeses. So just kind of hit the ground running and have as many conversations as you can. Take as much advice from those meetings as you can. So even if it's a no, there are definitely lessons to be learned from that outreach. So as long as you, kind of how we were talking about before about growing, as long as you take with you some version of a lesson from every meeting, it inevitably will work out in your favor.
I love that. Yeah. A lot of people are so afraid to fail. They're so afraid to hear no. But if you don't ask in the first place, then you're not going to do anything anyway.
Exactly.
And that is a choice that you're making. And I've been there. But the moment that I realized that failure is actually a good thing because you learn so much that in the future, after practice and all of that, you will be successful.
Yeah.
And I'm like hammering this into everyone's head because it's the number one question I'm asked all of the time. How do you do all that you do? And I'm just like, well, I'm not afraid to fail. I'm literally throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks. And the tiara is what stuck. Actually, my audience made this happen. I spoke at one conference wearing a tiara, and that was it.
That's amazing. Well, I have to say, this is my version of a tiara. So I actually wear headbands all the time.
That's cool.
I have a very good friend who has 2 daughters, and they actually call them Sarah bands because I wear them so often, and they've started building their collection. So I'd like to think metaphorically it's, building the strength among young women to proudly wear a Sarah band on their head.
I love that. That is a product that you should make. Sarah bands. Yeah, I would totally buy that. Yeah.
Exactly. But no, to go back to your question about funding, I think just like the most important thing to remember is you only see the yeses in the news, right? You only see the yeses when people make announcements that they've raised their funding. You never hear about the no's, but I guarantee you there were 1,000 more no's than there were yeses. So you just have to keep hammering through the no's to get to the yeses.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Well, I could talk to you about money all day. This is one of my favorite topics to talk about. If anybody's listening and wants to be on this podcast and you've got something to talk about with like a money product, I'll always, I'll always, do that. But before I let you go, why don't you tell people where to connect online with you?
Yep. So our website is covey.io. So that's covey.io. And like I said, we have a really active Discord channel, which you can click the icon on our website. And we're also really active on Twitter. So yeah, we definitely welcome everyone to join us, and obviously LinkedIn as well. I think that is an important tool that not everyone uses. So we welcome everyone to join our community and give us any feedback and just introduce themselves. We'd love to meet you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will have links to all of that stuff in the show notes. But yeah, Sara, thank you so much. This was such a fun conversation.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Really enjoyed meeting you.
Absolutely. If you want to support us, please like, subscribe, and share this episode with your fellow gems. Let me know in the comments what other topics you would like me to cover, and follow Tiaras and Tech on social media and use the hashtag MakeYourselfShine. Thanks for watching or listening, and have a great day.